What's the about your boy Haki? And today we're back to David. You know what I'm saying? M word indictment is coming. Allegedly, this is probably clickbait. 56K. All allegedly. I like the pink color sweater. I might have to drop a sweater in that color, but let's see.
News
Let's
has
see.
just come out. Okay, it's not quite the news that a lot of people were waiting for, but it's very close. The news has just come out that David is apparently likely to be indicted in the Celeste Rivas murder. Okay, this has just hit TMZ. It's going around absolutely everywhere. This was just a few hours ago. Okay, I rushed home so that I could react to this and give you my thoughts on the situation. But there,
Bro, what? What? Y'all see this stuff that be going on? That's
they're
crazy.
saying that the Christmas is over with, the holidays are over with, and now it's time for the grand jury to get busy. This says singer David will likely face murder charges for the death of Celeste Rivas, and that's because the grand jury that's hearing the case will be asked to hand down an indictment. Sources are telling TMZ. There was a report last month that the grand jury
TMZ paying top dollar for these sources, because how do they know that? Like, how did you know that? How did you get that information? Who did you have to shake? Whose pocket did you have to crease up to get that? You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, like, it's kind of crazy. Like,
was an investigative grand jury, a grand jury that helps authorities gather evidence, but one that does not indict. An investigative grand jury can be useful to subpoena and then force uncooperative witnesses to testify. But our sources say, however, the grand jury that has been hearing witnesses in the Celeste Rivas murder is actually one that will vote on indictments. And multiple sources tell TMZ that the authorities, including prosecutor Beth Silverman, believe that David was involved in the death of Rivas. TMZ broke the story earlier this month that David's day-to-day manager, Robert Morgenroth, testified for days. A TMZ reporter heard Morgenroth tell his lawyer in the courtroom hallway that Silverman was very pushy as to why he didn't call the police. He said he responded by saying it wasn't his responsibility and his job was to make sure that David's tour kept going. Grand juries generally do what prosecutors want. David's tour kept going.
This is David's manager. Yeah, bro, definitely knew some nefarious things going on, bro. This nigga looks like a creeper. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he was definitely, yeah, he knew.
He said he responded by saying it wasn't his responsibility and his job was to make sure that David's tour kept going. Grand juries generally do what prosecutors want, in no small part because the target, in this case David, has no right to present a defense. There was also talk in the courtroom hallway. The grand jury hear witnesses in February, so don't expect a quick indictment.
February.
He might be out here for a few months before these charges actually get delivered. Now, there's been a lot of hate, there's been a lot of negativity.
That boy gonna try to fly to Italy on y'all stupid asses. He is not about to stay. He's gonna be gone, bro.
Surrounding
because if all this is going on, then he's probably like 100% being investigated, and like I know once like you're being investigated by certain law enforcement agencies, like you're not allowed to leave the country. But
TMZ and the way that they've been pushing stories, they seem to put things out there and then wheel them back in and then confuse people. And a lot of people think that TMZ are running defense for David because the head honcho at TMZ, Harvey, apparently has some kind of friendship with David's lawyer, Blair Burke. But it sounds like things are moving forward, and I don't think there is going to be any way to escape justice in this situation, unfortunately. I think it might take some time, but I don't think there's any escape. Now, let's have a look at some of the responses, some of the reactions over on the various subreddits, because this has been going super viral today. All right, so this is the Celeste subreddit. They're saying David likely to be indicted by the grand jury in the Celeste Rivas murder case. People saying it boggles my mind that he hasn't even been arrested yet. He had a 14-year-old's dead body in his car and was clearly in a relationship with her. A regular person would have been arrested and been prosecuted for homicide. There is a dead child and this MFer is running around free. I agree with that comment.
Yeah, no, that's facts. Like, let's just be 100% honest. Like, just be objectively honest, bro. Let's say, let's just put like your mom, like y'all's mom, not my mom. I'm not putting this on her, you know what I'm saying? But let's say that a body was found in the car that your mom was riding in. Aren't you gonna think that she's guilty? Like, why is there, like, aren't you gonna ask all these questions? And yes, there were certain different little abnormalities with the situation because he was on tour and all this dumb shit, even though it could have been done, you know, whatever. But you know, you guys get what I'm saying. Like, it's not crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, I agree with that comment. How can you be found in this situation? Okay, it says one of the best ways to get out of a legitimate charge in this country is on procedural technicalities,
which is very facts.
and it's a good thing that they're not rushing, but also, like, it's been months. It has actually been months. They found the body in September. This is, I'm not going to lie, like, it's just crazy. Okay, they're calling out Robert. They're posting Robert's picture. They're saying his whole team needs to be charged. I'm not going to disagree with that, to be honest with you. I'm not going to disagree with that. They're saying bye-bye, David. They're saying likely we need some concretes. It's very ambiguous wording, but it does give a rough idea when to expect big moves. But TMZ has been known to cap. I'm not going to lie. TMZ has been known to cap. Okay. People are saying this is a good source for the grand jury process in California. I encourage anyone unfamiliar with it to read the article. Should we check it out? Should we read the article and find out how this grand jury process works? Okay. I think maybe we should. All right. People saying, I'm telling you, I swear if TMZ is making this one up, I will scream into every void imaginable. I hope before February we will see more. But at this point, I'll take it as long as Celeste can finally have justice in this case. Thanks for the share and for keeping up with all this. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't be surprised, because I feel like prosecutors love putting like bodies and cases on people on like really significant dates. And I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be surprised.
They do, bro. They do. They have a weird. It's like it's almost like weird, bro.
If this is my prediction, I think he's gonna get arrested for murder on Valentine's Day. That's just my opinion. Yeah. Valentine's Day 2026. I reckon he gets arrested for murder. Let's have a little look then at how a grand jury works. We got time for all this? We got time for all this? I think we got time for all this. Let's break it down really, really quickly. Okay, in California, a grand jury is a legal process that commonly is used in federal and serious state felony cases, where a jury of citizens from the community convenes to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to charge or indict an individual for a criminal offense. So they're convening to basically look at the evidence and say, is there enough here to indict David? Now, everyone's saying, how has he not been arrested? How has he not been arrested? Well, this is why. Perhaps it is because there is so much evidence. They just need their time to get through it. Saying grand juries are different from a jury, technically known as the petit jury, a criminal jury trial, whereas the petit jury, that's petit, like French, small. Whether you are guilty or innocent, the grand jury's job is to determine whether there's probable cause to believe that you may have even committed a crime. Okay, so we kind of get a gist of what a grand jury is. It's made up of a certain number of citizens from the county, and they have to determine whether or not charges should be brought against you in certain criminal cases and inquire into matters of civil concern in the county. That's not important for this, but basically, grand juries are an arm of the court. Okay, and they take the criminal function of grand juries, not their civil function. I think that's what's more relevant here. Okay, it says California prosecutors must bring felony charges in one of two ways. They can hold a preliminary hearing before a judge or magistrate at which you are present and represented by a criminal defense lawyer. The judge determines after the hearing there is enough evidence to try you for the crime and you'll be charged for a document called an information, or they might hold a grand jury proceeding at which you are not present. So David is not present. He is not privy to what is going on in this grand jury. He is simply at home quaking in his boots, wondering what the hell is going on. If the jury decides that there is probable cause to try you for the crime, then you will be charged through a document called an indictment. Unlike a preliminary hearing, grand juries are held before you appear for an arraignment. And this says indictments. In California, the vast majority of felony charges are brought through the preliminary hearing or information process, not through grand juries or criminal indictments. But, and this is where it's relevant for this story, it says district attorneys are more likely to use the grand jury indictment process if any of the following are true. There is a high public interest in the case, correct. A preliminary hearing would take more time than a grand jury hearing. Now that one I'm not sure about. The prosecution plans to call witnesses who are children, that could be true, who for other reasons would not do well under the cross-examination that would occur at a preliminary hearing. Or 4, the case against you seems weak and the prosecutor wants the chance to test it out before jurors. I'm not going to lie, that could be true. That could be true. They could be saying, look, this David case is weak. It's so much circumstantial evidence. We haven't actually got anything really concrete. We can't arrest him straight away. Let's see what the grand jury thinks about it. Or it says the case involves any wrongdoing by a public office holder and or the witnesses are incarcerated in a state prison. Unfortunately not on number 6. Unfortunately not currently. So basically, we don't know whether this is going to be a federal case yet, all right? But basically, if he transported her across state lines, could be a federal case. Some of this 764 stuff, like if him using Discord to entice her into a relationship from Texas, if she was in California, could be looking at federal charges, okay? Now, grand juries are supposed to make an objective determination of whether there's enough evidence to try you for a crime. They're supposed to be not just a sword to help the government prosecute criminals, but also a shield protecting you from
All right, so we're gonna play a little bit of this video just because that nigga was yapping for like the last like few minutes of that video. So yeah, I couldn't watch that. But yeah, let's get into it.
Trapmore Gang, it was recently reported that David could potentially be getting indicted for the Celeste Rivas murder. But even more chilling, and you might not know this, but he could be facing the death penalty. And not only could he be facing the death penalty, but the woman apparently responsible for prosecuting this case is so deadly when it comes to putting people down for their crimes, all right, and putting a DP on the table. She is nicknamed the Sniper. I shit you not. Okay, this is
fucking spooky, bro. If I'm a criminal or a murderer, like, or I'm being like, bro, and I hear sniper, the sniper, the judge's nickname is the Sniper. Like, she has like one of the highest, yeah, no, you're good.
Facts. This is what's going down. So this was reported, okay, David likely to be indicted in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez murder case, okay? This is a very sad case. Rest in peace to Celeste. We're trying to keep her name alive. We're trying to keep this story hot and warm because everybody needs to, like, raise up a fuss until something actually happens, until we get justice. We all need to raise up a fuss. We need to keep her name alive. We need to keep this story alive, okay? But also, the prosecutors that are working on this case behind the scenes, and a lot of people have said, "Oh, what are the cops doing? Why aren't the cops doing anything? They've been so quiet." Well, look, the prosecutors, the district attorneys, everybody that's working on this case apparently is very serious players. So, apparently, leading this indictment is Deputy DA Beth Silverman. Okay. This is Beth Silverman, an award-winning prosecutor, right? They ain't handing out these awards for nothing. Okay,
no, I don't do that shit.
And this is serious. The honorees of this award, this is in 2021. The honorees of this award were recognized for outstanding investigative work.
Hold on, this might be a little bit of a pushing it with the joke, but I swear I literally said this on Instagram. I was like, bro, females would make the best investigators, bro, because the way that y'all can figure shit out, bro, like from nothing, or y'all can come to the conclusion of something from nothing. Like, I don't know how you even picked up on that certain cue and like that hit. I don't know, should be crazy. But hey, bro, hey, honored that's for outstanding investigative work. Like, come on, man.
Untangling a multi-layered fraud scheme, aiding in a cold case murder. Okay. Murder probe, organizing a training program designed to improve the safety of first responders and people living with mental illness. Now, there's a lot of different staff members that have been honored, but specifically, all right, Beth Silverman, who is actually pictured up here, okay, it says Deputy District Attorneys Margaret Rizzo and Beth Silverman received the Centurion Award for Excellence in Cold Case Investigations with Technical Support. They were recognized with a team of agencies that utilized investigative genetic genealogy to help identify a suspect who now faces murder charges in connection with a 1986 killing of a Burbank woman and a 1981 slaying of a woman found in Montclair. This is who's on your case. This is who's on the case, okay? So it's going to be a long day. The David case is moving slow, but she going back into the vault. She using new genealogy to get people down on 1986 and 1981 killings, and you've got people facing murder charges. Now, apparently,
that's insane, and people still want to commit crime. Like, bro, I'm good, bro. It's just too many ways you can get caught. Like, you gotta think about it. If you do crime, bro, it's like the police don't have to do their job perfectly to catch you, but you have to do your job perfectly to not get caught. So it's like, are you really gonna live your day-to-day life and do your whatever you do illegal every single time perfectly without no mistake and no flaws? Like, no, bro, you're gonna slip up. So I don't know. Crime just does not seem it.
Okay. Apparently, she is indeed nicknamed the Sniper for her deadly accuracy in securing the death penalty in cases. Check this clip out.
We were in for a enormous fight. The prosecutor they assigned to the case had never lost. She liked to pick off people with the death penalty.
That's apparently her, all right, in this series that they were talking about. Now, for the record, this case that Netflix trailer is from this film Long Shot, all right? This is a short documentary film about Juan Catalan, who was arrested for a murder that apparently he didn't commit, okay? So he did go toe-to-toe with the Sniper, all right? And apparently ended up beating it. Okay, this was a crazy case where they actually used footage from Curb Your Enthusiasm, raw footage from Curb Your Enthusiasm to prove his innocence, basically. And apparently that footage proved that he was at a Dodgers game and instead of committing the murder. So, and this is an LA Times article where it basically says LA County prosecutor Beth Silverman was nicknamed the Sniper because she had never lost a murder case. But one of probably her most infamous, realistically, probably her most infamous hat, okay, is this guy, the Grim Sleeper. Okay, this was a 2016 case. It's probably her most famous prosecution. This was a serial killer who basically was responsible for at least 10 murders and one attempt in Los Angeles, California from 1984 to 2007. He basically took a massive 14-year break from his crimes between 1988 and 2002, but he basically eventually got caught and his trial began February 2016, and it would be the Sniper that would basically put him away. And she did pretty much catch the hat, right? On June the 6th, 2016, an LA County jury sentenced Franklin to death. Now, he died in prison, okay? It was very, very unusual. It said his cause of death was never released, but you know what I'm saying? He would have still been out here serial killing if it wasn't for the Sniper putting him away. Okay, so that's still that I give her the body. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like she took that piece of dirt off the streets, and hey, he died in jail. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Bozo. Like, who cares? But basically, this was a huge case. This was infamous for her, and basically, this kind of is how she built her name, as far as, you know, somebody who is not scared to put the needle on fools that do crimes in L.A.
Accused serial killer Lonnie Franklin walked into court today, nicknamed the Grim Sleeper, because of a 14-year gap in his alleged killing spree.
The evidence in this case will tell a story of a serial killer who stalked the streets of South Los Angeles.
Starting in the summer of 1985, prosecutors say Franklin murdered 9 women and 1 teenage girl.
Almost all of them were hidden under debris, behind bushes, in dumpsters, or covered with dirty mattresses left in alleyways or other trash.
An 11th victim survived, now expected to testify as a star witness. Authorities say an advance in DNA technology that seems straight from a crime scene drama broke open the case.
This case is one of those precedent-setting cases in that they're using what we call familiar DNA to get to the defendant.
Police had taken a DNA sample from Franklin's son in an unrelated criminal case. That sample closely resembled DNA found at the Grim Sleeper crime scenes.
Wow.
So she's getting old school, she's getting new DNA methods, she's taking old cases, and you best believe there's going to be some DNA involved in this case, all right? Yes, we don't know who did what yet. Yeah, we don't know who's you best believe there's going to be some DNA, and you best believe the Sniper is going to be on the case, okay? This is going to be a tough one to beat, all right? That DNA evidence, one eyewitness.
That boy David better start getting the retainer fees rolling, boy. Even though, I mean, he probably is under his lawyer's retainer already, but he's probably been paying them. Probably, you know, lawyers probably been giving him advice of things not to say and things to say.
And basically, you know, the defense was trying to argue that someone else had access to the guns and the vehicles used in the crime, but it didn't work out. And Beth, the Sniper Silverman, was able to put this fool away into jail with the death penalty, and eventually he would lose his life in jail that she put him away in. So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to her.
The defense attorney for accused serial killer Lonnie Franklin Jr. continued to hammer on what he began to tell the jury yesterday, that this case against Franklin is based on nothing but illusion and deception. And the DNA, he said, is faulty. Don't believe it.
So how do you determine that all the DNA found on this common profile could only be Lonnie Franklin and not anybody else who's related to him, when you have never been given a single statistic?
This is going to be David's attorney, right? I feel like in a year and a half's time, this is going to be David's attorney talking about, oh, anybody could have, like, that Tesla was just parked on the street. Like, anybody could have, like, how do you not DNA?
Based upon related individuals.
Anybody could have broken into the Tesla, stolen into it, bypassed all of the advanced security features, or at least like it's relatively hard to break into a Tesla and like break into that motherfucker. It's not like a Charger or a Mopar where it's relatively easy as hell to break into. Like, it's not easy to break into them. So like, it's just interesting. I'm about to skip through it, see if I can find any more interesting clips, but if not, that'll probably be it for today's video. Okay, so sadly there was no more clips. So that will be it for today's video. I hope we genuinely see some more progress with this case. It does sound like it's going to be like a very, not open shut case, but it sounds like we are going to be putting BTA to David, because just all these things lining up all at once, bro. And it's like very obvious that the jury is going to side with us, most likely, because like the evidence just points to David being guilty. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.